Warning.
World Weary Podcast occasionally discusses mature themes and uses colorful language.
Hello? Hello, who is it? Oh, what do you want from me?
Rate, review, and subscribe to World Weary Podcast.
Welcome to World Weary Podcast. I'm the British one, Violet Starr.
And I'm the American one, Cassiopeia Walker.
Oh my god.
So I was zoned out listening to the chair squeak. Because I'm worried that it's going to pick up loads.
It'll be alright.
Okay.
It'll be fine. This is our awkward introduction.
I'm always
We're
thinking
so
about
cringe.
the audio now. I'm always editing mine now.
You are always audio.
Sorry.
You're an audio file now.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what you need to know about us. We are women. Sorry if you've been deceived by my often gravelly voice, but that's the fact of the matter. In fact, the more we listen back to episodes, I just sometimes am stunned at this weird British vocal fry that I'm capable of. It's no one associates that with Britain, but
It's amazing.
you do hear it a lot, and I've got it bad. I'm okay.
I apologize, but that is definitely possibly a bad influence upon. And you've had other American friends in Japan, in London.
No, had a weird amount of close American friends since.
So you have been
in my 20s, anyway.
You can't help it. It happens, especially among women. We just pick each other's shit up.
Yeah.
We're like, we will unify.
We will become a hybrid creature. And we are a bit strange as well. I don't know how we prove that we're strange. Maybe just listen to the podcast and you'll understand eventually. And we are qualified, or at least we feel we're qualified. Don't look at me like that. To talk about the weird, the wonderful, the woo-woo, and the otherworldly. And we be serving up alliteration and anecdotes all day. I've realised, listening back to episodes also,
Yeah.
I am really paranoid now that I keep using the wrong grammar words. I keep thinking I'm messing up allegory with metaphor.
Oh, yeah.
And
I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean...
But it's a highly shameful thing as a Brit, especially someone with a master's degree. It's I should at least know my basic English language. But actually,
we get used to casual speak.
I was an English teacher for 2 years. How terrible is that? But also, I think I do have a feeling actually an allegory is a kind of subgroup of metaphors. It is a metaphor. So maybe I'm all right. I don't know.
I think in the world of writing, there's a lot of fluidity, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, I just say it's a dialect thing. That's how we do it down in Somerset.
Yeah, where the trolls live.
I keep having flashbacks to a random moment in our friendship that happened only last week. Cassie was stood in the backyard, feeling really hungry, and she turns to me and says, "Violet, right now, in another dimension, I'm eating a chicken burger." And I responded by saying, "Cassie, in another dimension, you are the chicken burger." I don't know why, but it felt like a significant moment.
And then we talked about
another piece of the puzzle fell into place, You know
when people say, oh my god, in a past life, you were Cleopatra? No, in another universe, you're a chicken burger.
You are a chicken burger.
I'm holding my lettuce in barely, trying to hold my fucking condiments
Or your mayo
in.
fell out in the little box that you came in,
And I'm just waiting to be eaten by the great child god of the sky who picks up the snacks and consumes us.
Exactly. When I say we're a bit strange, I think, there you go, there's your proof. We've just got that trace of something a bit disturbing about us,
I blame our childhood.
We look harmless, But
that's the problem.
we
When you look,
we give off something
Yeah.
intangible. It's like when people meet us, they're like, "Oh, you know, those ones escaped from the toy box, didn't they?"
We have like a weird aura of, I don't know. Lauren says I'm intimidating to approach.
Oh
And that
yeah,
might just
I get
be
that
my
a lot.
social sort of disorder.
No, I don't think you're intimidating. I think you're like, I would envy like how, you know, outgoing you can be in social situations.
I'm hands on your hips, Southern woman.
You maybe, I think maybe intimidating in a sense that you can kind of, you know, that
Yeah.
you're the one approaching people. So
Oh yeah.
maybe, you know, the more shy people might be overwhelmed, but
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do. People like it.
I tend to have a horde of introverts around me because I'll just do all the talking.
You will. Yeah, no, I'm generally shy unless I've had a glass of wine.
When we first met, you didn't say anything, and I was cracking
Well, no,
jokes.
I was trying to suss you out because no one had told me that, you know, you were in a relationship. I thought you might be, you know,
I and your boyfriend up at the time.
I and my
helping us,
gentleman.
and you were helping us move furniture into our flat, and she didn't really.
Well, the
know
way that he talked about you, you know, it's okay. He was not, you know, this was not a great
Oh
relationship.
no!
He definitely was trying to make me jealous with his
Gross.
new lady friend that he knew. But then it turned out it was you.
I like
and-
literally. He was practically, literally invisible to me. It was Morgan's friend.
We had the most awkward journey to like, what was it, like a skip or like a second-hand furniture
Yes,
warehouse.
secondhand furniture
Well,
warehouse.
they loaded like a sofa in the back, and we were just there like in like shy silence.
And normally, if I meet people, I either go into shy mode
Mm.
or I go into joke mode. And because Violet wasn't saying anything, I was like joke, 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 joke. Da da da. Some of my best material was
just
coming
like
out.
flying like paper arrows into like a steel
brick wall.
wall, like
Yeah,
of British silence.
and I was just like.
Yeah, no, I'm very shy. I think I just when I first
I didn't
meet
think
people,
you were mean. I just thought there was something like maybe you were standoffish.
I was worse back then. I just vetted people a lot
Yeah.
more. It was very difficult to get into the inner circle of loyalty with
Yeah.
Violet back then.
But when it happened, it made sense.
I've worked on it. I tried. I'm about quality over quantity
Exactly.
when it comes
Yeah,
to
we have a
friends.
small circle of really close friends. I think.
And yeah, this is a podcast. Each week we tackle extraordinary topics, not just incredible stories, but also explorations into things that are a bit weird and woo-woo. We just want to rekindle a little sense of magic and wonder in our lives, in a probably futile attempt to distract ourselves from the rather bleak everyday situations that we find ourselves in. On the subject of bleakness, Cassie, this is remember that we're quite a bit in the future, so
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah,
let
this is the
it
future. Okay, so
all out, let it out.
So basically, my drive with my operating system just completely just shut down and fried. And that means we lost an episode.
We this is every podcaster's nightmare.
Yeah. And now I've got backup and triple backup systems in place. But it was a bad timing. It literally, I just restarted my computer and that was it.
And then we're experiencing an actual freaking massive storm here right now.
Yeah, huge storm. And you'll know
my God, what
from
week.
the previous episode, I think we explained about the tarot card, but just in case you missed that, because the reason why there's no tarot card reading last episode.
Well, there is.
Wink, wink.
But
Well,
you should have listened to the other episode.
But that's the thing. Like,
We're
I figure
gonna
we won't even
explain
do
it.
a reading for that episode.
Well, we
just
will, because
explain-
I've got the tarot picture
Oh,
of
I
the
see, I
tarot
see.
from that week, so we
Yeah.
can keep up with our tarot timeline.
We're in the future, so last
we
week
are going
we
to be
should have
doing a tarot
explained
reading
the
the
tarot
end
reading.
of this one.
Yeah.
And, and we'll just look back at that one from the previous
Perfect.
week.
And it's a hot mess. That's what's called. We had a hot mess, so we've had to re-record that episode. You'll have heard all about it, so I don't won't be too boring. But yeah, it's been a nightmare. It's been an actual nightmare. But I got it fixed really quickly.
Yeah, we're learning from mistakes.
Yes.
And
now it's running
now
smoother
we're
than
on-
ever.
Yeah, we're upgraded because of it.
Yeah, because of necessity.
Yeah. This week, I found myself locked out twice.
No.
2 days in a row. So on Tuesday, I was off to a good start. You know, in the morning, we had breakfast early. I came into work with my little coffee. I was on it, you know. I go to open up and one of my keys is missing.
Oh, no.
So I can't get into the building. And I don't know, it must have just like fallen off somewhere, like on my walk, like
oh, no.
maybe the day before or something. So I had to wait out in the porch of my workplace in the cold for like 45 minutes, and my boss had to like drive in and open up for me. And then Wednesday in the evening, I'm sorting out my new place, and I take a load of recycling out in the evening in my little panda slippers.
No.
And I thought I put the door on the latch, but I go to go back in, and the front door literally just like slams locked in my face. And luckily, okay, my partner was in the house, but he had just gone to take a shower when I went out for the recycling, and he takes long showers. And I was like, there's no way he's going to be able to hear me. So I don't have my phone or my keys on me.
No.
Like, I was out there in my slippers just throwing some rubbish out. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I realised, well, I just put some food in the oven. I was like, oh my God, what if it like burns? And I just decided I'm just going to have to keep knocking on the front window until he hears, like by chance he might hear. And like after some time I did get back in, but the neighbours had been like looking at me from across the road, like watching me like stuck outside in my slippers, in my panda slippers. Yeah, and I also really badly bruised this knuckle. It's kind of gone away now, but you can see it looks like swollen because I rapped a bit too hard on the window.
Oh no. That's bad luck.
And,
we both had the worst luck.
I've been so clumsy. I've broken so many things. Like, so many things have just broken. Like, I smashed this, like, special glass thing I had the other day. It was really depressing. It was like, yesterday I was just like, okay, I need to take things into my own hands now. Because, like, I need to, like, put a stop to all this chaos that keeps happening. And I don't know if it's just hormones or something, but I was insanely clumsy.
Yeah.
And also, last week's episode, like what we're going to be re-recording in a bit, really traumatized me, weirdly, because normally it's things like ghosts and demons that keep me up at night, because I worry, like, well, talking about them, like, in the podcast, open up a door for them, you know. And last week, it's kind of different because we were talking about, you know, people who survived massive volcanic eruptions and, like, it's burns unit kind of injuries. Like, I just kept finding myself thinking about terrible burn injuries.
Oh, no.
It's lovely how the human mind works.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys, our listeners, seem to be, you know, loving our rambling. And we recently hit over 1,000 listens.
I know, it's crazy. And we're really fast. It's moving on up. Like, so I really appreciate it. I didn't know people were listening.
Thank you very much. This is episode 25. An odd number. And I am this podcast's odd number queen. So I have selected the topic of fakery. Scams, like fraud, hoaxes, all that good stuff.
You wanna buy a watch?
Exactly.
Genuine
what?
Genuine Rolex.
I'm quite excited. I didn't think I would be about something like this, a topic like
I've
this.
had so much fun researching this week.
But it's like nervous excited to get into this episode. I don't really know why. We're having a lot of coffee today. This is a double recording day, so I might get a bit jittery.
Yeah.
Cassie, can you remember any time you got scammed?
That time we went to London.
Yes, I knew you were going to talk about this.
I bought a Naked Lady lighter, and they told me it was £5, and I thought it was just a markup because it was London. And Violet was just like
a disposable lighter. A disposable lighter. one
with a naked
short
lady on it as an
lifetime.
ironic present for Anna.
£5. It's because
pounds.
you're American. They thought you were a stupid tourist who didn't understand
I am
pounds.
stupid.
I was so angry that I had waited outside the shop because.
Well, I'm so
That's the
you know how I am. I don't like. I'm so social.
Yeah, but I'm the same, and I was that angry that that would have been if I had had the balls, that would have been the first time I'd ever gone back in and shouted at the shopkeeper. I almost did. It's the closest I've ever come to that, and I'm really shy in shops, like.
And I just like accepted it, and I was just like, ugh. I felt so scant. I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I should know better.
It's all right. It's happened to all of us, like at least once,
but nothing big.
I don't know. I don't know who's got my email address. We've talked about this before, of course, many times, I'm sure. But I get some pretty great scam emails sent to me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely sure I told you about the one where a guy wrote to me from South Africa to request money to rescue a South African war hero who had been abandoned in space on a Russian-owned space station for the past 7 years.
It's so specific. How can it be
I'm going to feel terrible if it does turn out to be true one day.
If only Violet had helped me.
But emailing me for that kind of money is not like the right way of going about it. You know, go ask someone with money or like Elon Musk.
They should have been like, hey.
Yeah. I get a lot of emails telling me I've won a 100 GBP voucher. So that's already suspicious that it's freaking GBP for a store that like doesn't exist anymore, or something weird that would like never give away gift cards, like a petrol station. Like I've had like ones for like Texaco. And I think the best one might have been a £100 gift voucher to spend on Hovis bread. Like, how much Hovis freaking bread? Like, another time that I really tried to think about this. Like, when have I actually felt ripped off? Another time I felt like I'd been scammed was when I was about 11 or 12, so pretty young. And me and my friend Laura found a bunch of those free, like, win a speedboat holiday and a case of wine, like, scratch cards in a magazine. And we scratched, like, all of them. And on one of the cards, we scratched, like, the little silver shit off. And it was, like, 7 golden stars in a row. You have won a holiday for 2 to Venice. And we lost our minds, like, oh my God, we've won a holiday staying in a 5-star hotel in Italy. Like, not thinking about the logistics of the fact we were like 11 and there's no way that we were going to be allowed to go, the 2 of us alone, to freaking Venice on a holiday we won on a scratch card. And the card was like, you know, ring this hotline to claim your once in a lifetime holiday. And my friend lived in a pub and we were like just completely unsupervised, like all of the time. Completely to a dangerous level. And so we used the pub telephone to ring it, and it probably charged us like £10 a minute. Yeah. And basically we listened to this voice recording telling us we hadn't actually won a holiday, but actually we needed to pay a subscription fee, and we would then be put into a draw to win not even a holiday, but a £300 cash prize. And like we were like there like kicking like ashtrays over and stuff in this apartment above the pub, being like, what the fuck, like, you know, we like ripped the scratch card up, we're like, fucking liars. Like we were like devastated because we just like got so excited about this holiday.
Gosh. I'll tell you, this reminded me, you know, Miss Cleo, the famous psychic scammer who wasn't even from Jamaica. She was from like California. Vaguely. Very 90s niche, like, Miss Cleo, call me now for your free reading. My brother and I called her and it just charges you shitloads. And like, I can't remember if my parents found out, but like it would try to call you back loads. So that you'd have to accept collect call. And I don't know if we did or not, but yeah, sorry parents if I gave you a big bill or something. Yeah. I just wanted to know my fortune.
Have you ever faked something or like run a little...
Have
you pulled off a scam?
I don't think so. I'm too wimpy. I'm too Christian.
Do you think you're a good liar?
I'm a good actress, so I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good liar then.
Yeah.
I think I might be quite a good liar.
I don't use lying very much. Ever since I started doing Taoist shit, I try my best to be, especially after reading Wheel of Time, I try my best to be
I was going to
Aes
say,
Sedai.
yeah. What great advice. Like, you can
You can sort of not lie, you can stay principled and honorable.
You can say things that are the truth, but
People
doesn't
take
matter.
implications.
You can let people interpret that
Yeah.
how they like.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing, you know, like that's a good way around it.
And I've been practicing that since I read the books, so I consider myself pretty fucking honest. As honest as I can be, of course, because...
This thing is like, I had a change, like, in my brain at some point where I, like, now I, like, really find it hard to, like, lie. I feel so bad about it. Like, I really try to... I'm very conscious of trying not to lie and catching myself if I feel like I'm doing it, because I think I might be quite a good liar. Because I lied a lot when I was a kid. Like,
I lied loads
trying to
when I
get
was a
away
kid.
with shit, or like blaming stuff on my siblings. And if you're good at it as a kid, like if it works and you start getting away with like every other lie, it does become a habit.
Yeah.
And when my
kids learn to lie at something crazy like a couple months or something.
it's like the oldest trick in the book, literally.
Or maybe it's older than that, but it's like pretty fucking young.
No,
maybe not 2 months.
Because for me, it was like when exactly when my sister Chloe was a baby in her cot, like she couldn't stand up, like a tiny baby, like couldn't even like stand up or anything. I was already doing the like classic jealous older sibling thing of like I would write her name, like Chloe, on the wall and then blame it on the like newborn baby sister. And I used to tell her stuff like she was actually an unwanted child of, okay, get this, and Chloe will, verify this. I told her she was the unwanted child of Baby Spice of the Spice Girls. And that my parents had like adopted her because Baby Spice needed to work on her career. She wasn't ready for motherhood back in 1995. And I definitely went through a phase of really like lying about my life when I was a young teenager. And when I was like a little goth at 12, me and all my little goth friends would lie about, best thing actually was lying about medical evidence that might prove we were real vampires. So
we
would be searching the internet for like a disease that might prove that we're kind of like a real vampire, that kind of shit. We all knew. That's the thing, it's like we all knew we were lying, but at the same time we were like, oh yeah, I totally believe you. Like, wow, like you've definitely got this cool congenital condition that basically makes you a real vampire. And there was a kind of phase like in those young teenage years where I think just a lot of kids I knew, just everyone just lied about their life. It was like we were all testing it out because it's part of this teenage personality building. But in some people it was like pure attention seeking. Yeah. Like I remember a girl at school that would lie about pregnancies and like she had like terminal illnesses. She was definitely
a compulsive liar at school. That's why I was just like, and she would say the most horrid of things that were pretty untrue. Yeah, and she ended up dating an ex of mine, and I warned him, and he thought I was doing jealous stuff. I dated him for like a week. I was like, dude, I'm not jealous. I'm like trying to warn you of this crazy cuckoo banana girls who like told me these crazy stories, and then nothing came of it, kind of thing. Yeah, he apologized later.
Wow.
He was just like, sorry, you were right.
It was those kind of kids that were like, they were heading down the road of like cancer charity scams.
My cousin's in the CIA. Like,
oh yeah, like full on, like I was in the SAS and now I have cancer and it's all fake. But it did get to that point, and that's something that's like, I really need to address it one day with like a therapist when I have enough money. But when I was 14, like that kind of age, I would like seriously lie awake at night, like worrying that I was a crazy, like pathological liar.
I've worried that before, like, because like, especially if you use comedy as
if you're
crutch,
a bit of an entertainer kid,
it's the old adage, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. And you and I are known to exaggerate bits and bobs here to make a funny story.
Yeah.
And
it's purely for entertainment.
Yeah, but we don't do that with serious stuff.
No.
And like, I don't know, I've never caught you in a lie, so don't worry. It's just if we don't generally, you know.
Well, we changed as, you know, this is the thing. We've, you know, we try not to lie now.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then, like, if I lied about something or, like, it would just dawn on me occasionally what I'd lied about, and it made me feel terrible. Like, but the problem is it just comes so easily to you, and when you're that age, it's like, you're not necessarily
if you
equipped.
live in special circumstances, kind of thing, where it's easier to lie than to get in trouble.
Exactly. And, like, you know, there's also, I think, if you're a bit of the, like, storyteller, or you're someone that likes chatting to people, you're a very chatty kid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it becomes a defense mechanism. And as a teen, it's more just because you want to, like, I don't know, I think I wanted people to think I was cool or interesting. You were creating a cool persona, and that's something where you can hide your actual real teenage mess and problems. Because I did feel like, at that age, I did feel like I was this weird poverty version of Wednesday Addams. Like, Wednesday Addams in a council flat kind of thing. And I did lie about myself because I wanted to seem more successful and, like, normal and adult. Or I wanted to, like, impress people a bit. I didn't necessarily want attention. Or, you know, it wasn't like that. I just wanted to, you know, be cool. You know, I'd be like, oh yeah, my family has like a second holiday home in a foreign country, or like, you know, I have these cool older friends in another town, you know, like, but they didn't really exist. It was that kind of like 13-year-old MySpace shit. But it did make me feel terrible. It'd like keep me up at night. Thank God I was self-aware enough back then that I actually made a kind of conscious decision to stop and like break the habit. Because it just, I mean, I just couldn't do it nowadays. I couldn't
Morgan's
keep a
one
big
of those
lie
people
going.
That has never lied since he was like, when he was a kid, he's like that honorable. He's like, I cannot tell a lie. Because it annoyed him that other people would, other kids and stuff. So he's like one of those.
A lot of people, you know, there's a serious spectrum of
but
lying.
It's good,
and, you know, some people are like insane liars, and some people just don't and can't in some situations. Yeah, the thought of having to keep a lie going, like, just would give me instant insomnia. And I mean, secrets are different. I can keep secrets really well. I'm pretty proud of myself for my secret keeping. But lies is just like too much like anxiety and guilt, and I don't know. And there's nothing worse, I think, than people thinking that you are a serial bullshitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
I want people to, you know, hear my stories and believe them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like there's also, I think, when we got a bit older, when like 16, I started to realise that the true, real facts and stories of my life and family and friends
way more interesting.
Exactly, they're so much more interesting and crazy, like, better than any story you can make up. You know, me and my sister have lived through some very unusual situations in our childhood. Like, a lot of people, you know, would never imagine quite kind of twee middle-class girls having lived on a Romany gypsy camp. I'm sure there's people out there who don't, you know, believe that when they hear it about me. And partly, I think that is something that we both share, but we are unafraid to talk about like fucked up personal stuff.
Yeah.
That other people just do not talk about.
Oh, they get uncomfortable real fast.
Okay, we definitely have a reputation for like breaking the silence at a party by going, you know, like, so who wants to hear about the crazy stuff that my relation with serious mental health problems has been up to lately? Like, or like, here's something terrible and disturbing that happened in my childhood. A lot of people, you know, I think they just think that kind of information is inappropriate to share, you know. I
can't help myself.
Because it's, even amongst close friends, because they think it's private and shameful, or it's like a sob story or attention seeking. I don't know. I just personally,
I just think they're all wimps. I'm like, check this shit out.
Yeah, I want to share my like crazy anecdotes, and 90% of the time,
if they're upset
it's for
by
entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
we twist our worst moments into something
Our
hilarious.
histories and our stories are part of our comedy repertoire. Yeah. Like, that is, you hired these clowns, okay, for the party, and that you're gonna freaking like it, okay? Sit down and shut up and listen. Yeah, I mean, I can be quite a chatterbox. and so do you.
Yeah.
You have a bit of the chatty vibe. So I have to be quite careful now about, like, is it an appropriate moment for a Violet childhood story time? Especially, like, around acquaintances or people who don't know me very well, or if I'm a bit tipsy and I'm not judging my setting very well, you know, because they will think that I'm, like, exaggerating or that I'm attention
I wouldn't worry
seeking.
about it. Honestly, they can fuck themselves. Most of them, yeah.
There's no greater fear, though, like, especially for a woman, you know, than being
Yeah, I
written
guess
off as the
so.
crazy liar
Yeah,
bullshit,
true.
because you'll never be taken seriously.
But most of them don't take it seriously anyway.
No.
So, I mean, that's where I'm at, Violet. I'm at the cynic level 12 where I just don't care
This is
anymore.
called World Weary Podcast for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Violet's still got, what is it called? Hope?
Yeah.
Hope? No, that's not in my vocab anymore.
The human world is pretty amazing because just how much thinking about this episode got me really thinking deep on this. How much language and our storytelling abilities can literally twist and change other people's reality.
Yeah.
You know, like you see articles on gaslighting all the time now, and it's pretty cool that people are thinking about the impact of lying and twisting the truth and mental health and psychopaths and politics, and we're having a trend of psychology at the moment.
Yeah.
And,
mental health
and
awareness.
you just realise how much your whole society is just warped with people's words and scams and mistruths and bendings of other people's realities.
Yeah.
It's all...
That's how cults become these micro, you know,
It's the patterns
communities
within the patterns of society.
Yeah.
Through like a social, cultural, anthropological lens, I'd actually like to research lying and deception, like amongst like different peoples and places. Like, is it universally like a bad thing to lie and deceive? Like, you know, would I want to change the world so that no one can lie? I don't think I would. You know, I think lying is a useful tool, and there's like a reason that we can do it, and that so many of us can do it. And trickery is like an incredible art. I mean, other animals and plants do it. It's a survival skill.
I mean, movies are lies, but they transform you temporarily. A good enough film, a perfect film, will make you forget your own reality, and you'll get sunk into that film for however long it has you.
Where's the border between a truth and a lie? Is there a spectrum?
If there were no lies, if you could not tell a lie, movies wouldn't exist. You know, music wouldn't exist because you have to be able to, there has to be always a spectrum of things.
It's just, yeah. And it's just so crazy that we can manipulate and outwit others to our own advantage with just words. And I don't know, but whether it is like religion or conditioning or something, what I do know is that I feel a lot of shame and guilt for lying now.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So I really, as an adult, try really hard to avoid it. I'm very careful. I have to use it for good. There we go. This is the most vulnerable we've probably ever been
Grandma's
on
gonna
the
be
podcast.
fine. She's gonna be fine. Little lie.
This is my story.
All right, I'm sitting back for this one.
Princess Caraboo.
Princess Caraboo. I'm not sure.
So
I know.
there's a movie and a musical about the story. So I wonder.
I've heard of the title. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I wonder whether any of you will recognise it as we get into it. Some of you will probably have seen the movie back in the 90s. April 3rd, 1817.
Woo.
A wonderful year. We are in the village of Almondsbury, Gloucestershire, England.
Ew.
Not too far from here, pretty close to where we are. Almondsbury is really close to the River Severn. It's our big local river. Real big river, but and there's a bunch of floodplains up there by Almondsbury. You know, it's got a watery vibe.
All right.
You know, probably would have been pretty boaty, pretty watery back in the day. You know, this is 1817, okay? Still pretty basic bitch back then. So on this April day in 1817, a cobbler is going about his business in the village. God, some of my England stories. When I find an England story, it's so English. There's cobblers and villages and places called Almondsbury. It's on Teddington levels of twee names. This cobbler's going around his business when he comes upon a young woman who appears to be lost and confused. Disoriented is probably the right word. This young woman is wearing strange, exotic clothing. She appears to be from a foreign land. So we're getting into our Utsuro-bune territory. The cobbler tries to speak to her, but quickly realises that she cannot speak English, but instead babbles in an incomprehensible language. He manages to communicate with hand signals enough to get this lost young woman back to his family home where his wife tended to her. She stays with them a night or two whilst they try to work out what to do with her. So this completely lost foreign woman has just appeared out of nowhere in their village. She doesn't understand English and they don't recognise her language. So the cobbler's wife takes this strange woman to the overseer of the poor.
Okay.
You want to know what that is?
Sounds terribly British and sad.
It's very Charles Dickens, isn't it? What was an overseer of the poor in England back then? It was an official, or they were officials, who administered the local poor people, and they had to figure out how much relief was needed in their area. Then they had to go around and collect the poor rate, which was basically a tax that could be then used for poor relief. And it kind of evolved into council tax that we still pay. That's basically the poor rate.
Oh, I see.
And they would also see to the distribution of relief for the local poor. And they would also have supervised the poorhouse or workhouse, which is like just where they put all the poor people back then.
Lovely.
It's very Charles Dickens. The overseer of the poor did not know what to make of this strange foreign woman. He had no clue as to what language she spoke or where her exotic clothes came from. So he sent her to the local county magistrate, a Samuel Worrell, who lived on the estate of Knoll Park. So there was like Knoll House there. It was like a big, fancy 18th century house with like massive deer parks, kind of, stately, homey, manor estate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Worrell and his wife, Elizabeth, who was born in America, so she was an American woman, which is quite exciting, probably, for Almondsbury. We presume they had like a little bit more knowledge of the rest of the world than like the local cobbler did. But, they were still the middle class of the countryside.
Yeah.
And back then, that's like, it's very like Jane Austen. Like, they weren't that elite. Like, you were much more cool if you were in the big town of London or whatever. Anyway, these two, they couldn't figure out where the strange woman had come from. They couldn't identify her language. However, they kind of observed her for a bit in their home. They figured out that she referred to herself as Caraboo, and that she was very interested in Chinese imagery. Like, they had like fancy imported Chinese and, like Asian furnishings in their home. They send the strange woman to stay at a local inn where she saw a drawing, or she was shown a drawing of a pineapple that was on display. And she identified it as nanas, which in lots of other languages means pineapples. So because of this, they later suspected, or came to a conclusion, that she was speaking an Indonesian language because of the pineapple picture. Okay. When she was offered a bed for the night in the inn, she insisted on sleeping on the floor. Thus, the magistrate, Samuel Worrell, decided she must be a beggar, and she was sent to Bristol and tried for vagrancy and locked up in prison. In prison, Caraboo, as she is now known, meets a Portuguese sailor named Manuel Enesso, or Enes, and he tells the prison authorities that he travelled the world, he was a sailor, and he said he could speak her language, and he translated her story to the officials. So this strange young foreign lady, turns out, she was in fact from the island of Javasu in the Indian Ocean, and she was a princess. She is Princess Caraboo of Javasu. So the story goes that she had been kidnapped from her home by pirates, and after a long voyage all the way to Britain, when the pirates sailed up the Bristol Channel, she saw her chance to escape and she jumped overboard and managed to swim ashore, and that's how she found herself in Almondsbury. So the Worrells, this rich couple, you know, with the American wife, they are told this Princess Caraboo's story, and they feel fucking terrible because they basically just like put royalty into prison, and they called her a beggar as well. So they take her into their home as a special guest. This is some like what's the Anne Hathaway like princess? Is it Princess Diaries?
Yeah.
That's it. This is a Princess Diaries moment. Okay, so for the next few months, Princess Caraboo basically becomes the star attraction for all the local rich people. All the rich and posh people, they wanted to meet this exotic royal, and she literally became a favourite of the local dignitaries. They encouraged her to perform all her, you know, cultural activities. She used a bow and arrow, fenced, swam naked, and they fucking watched, and prayed to a god whom she named Allah Ta'ala, which is like spelling variation of like a name for a god in Islam.
Okay.
So they were like, oh, she's definitely foreign. She even wrote in a foreign script language, and like professors and boffins came to study her and like study her alphabet. They dressed her in like luxurious exotic clothing. They had her portrait painted. The portrait was published in the newspapers, and she became a kind of mini celebrity, a young, beautiful, exotic foreign princess. So there's this portrait of her in this stunning like gold
I'm feeling suspicious
silks with peacock feathers, and like
I don't want to bring colorism in necessarily, but she's very pale.
Here's another there's a close-up of the face portrait there, so you get an idea for what she kind of looked like.
She's from Leeds.
So skeptical, Cassie. I don't know. She's got something a little bit. She's very
very
I think she had very
looking.
dark eyes and dark hair.
Very large, dark eyes.
And quite like looks like she had maybe a slightly more like olivey complexion than you would expect in a local woman from Gloucestershire. A dude called Dr. Wilson came to study her. Who knows whether he was really a doctor. He looked at the Javasu alphabet and writing that Caraboo had written and said he had identified her language, or the family of languages from where her language originated, and attested to her authenticity as a foreigner. So she essentially had expert verification.
Excellent. He
also noted that Princess Caraboo had these weird scars on the back of her head, and he said that this was also evidence that she was from what back then they called the Orient, because, you know, this was the trademark work of Oriental surgeons, and he could identify it. Newspapers published stories about Princess Caraboo's adventures and all her interesting culture and unusual way of life, and it brought her national acclaim. There is her alphabet there.
Interesting.
Then, one day, a lady called Mrs. Neal, a boarding housekeeper, was reading the newspaper.
Oh no.
And saw this article on Princess Caraboo accompanied by portraits of her. Mrs. Neal recognised the lady in the picture, not as the exotic foreign Princess Caraboo, but a poor cobbler's daughter and servant girl called Mary Willocks from Witheridge in Devon. Mrs. Neal informs Princess Caraboo's hosts, the Worrells. I mean, just imagine the horrible feeling when you're playing Princess Caraboo, like swimming naked, like balancing a pineapple on your head to a load of like pervy old rich dudes. in this stately home, and then you see Mr. and Mrs. Worrell coming out, like, looking all angry.
No.
And you're like, shit, the gig's up. The jig is up. So Mary Willocks, she had been a servant girl moving around England trying to find work, but she'd found no place to stay. But she was fucking smart. And this was 1817, and like, you know, it's like exploration of the planet and like shipping dodos and tigers and pineapples to England.
Everything's happening.
Yeah, it's all the rage. And rich people are really into exotic foreign cultures and art and opium, and it's hard to fact check because they don't have internet and news moves really slow. And
Just a dream for scammers.
this girl just like realized she could play these people. She could just take advantage of them because she's smart. So she came up with this exotic character and her backstory, and she obviously knew a little bit about foreign cultures and countries, enough that, you know, she managed to create a fake language and alphabet that could fool all these people into thinking they were identifying it on the other side of the world. You know, she even used gypsy words and stuff that she knew and like pieced them together to make a convincing sounding language.
Yeah.
Pretty smart. So people were like, you know, well, what about all the weird scars on her head that the doctor had said are definitely the work of oriental surgeons doing some kind of crazy acupuncture in the back of her head? It turned out that they were actually scars from a crude operation that had been performed on her in a poorhouse hospital in London.
Oh,
like,
no.
it doesn't get worse than that hospital-wise. Like,
No.
early 1800s poorhouse hospital in London. Like, basically, they had cut into her to bleed her in the back of her head, like medicinal bleeding, and cupping, where they would put those like metal cups and then vacuum suck like what they thought was bad stuff out, like where they stick little cups on you. The newspapers, though, they thought it was fucking hilarious. They really went for this attack on the like stupid, naive middle class of Gloucestershire who had fallen for this like simple servant girl's hoax. But to be fair on the rich people that took Princess Caraboo in, Mrs. Worrell, the American, she took pity on little Mary after she kind of got over the anger. She was like, you're smart, you did a good job trying to make something for yourself, you know, you're enterprising, but this news story is embarrassing for us lot. So it would help, you know, if you could like fuck off to another country. And so she arranged and paid for Mary to travel to Philadelphia, America.
Oh, wow. Where she...
America!
Yeah.
For which she departed on the 28th of June, 1817. But people haven't quite gotten over the whole Princess Caraboo hype because they just loved the story so much. It was like the best thing ever. It was like the best viral video prank, you know. So on 13th of September, 1817, while she's on this long sea voyage, a letter is printed in the Bristol Journal newspaper, allegedly from a Sir Hudson Lowe, the official in charge of the exiled Emperor Napoleon on St. Helena.
Wow.
In the letter, the author claimed that a big storm had driven the ship that was carrying the beautiful Princess Caraboo, and it pushed the ship really close to the island of St. Helena, where the exiled Napoleon is hanging out. And apparently the intrepid Princess Caraboo just spontaneously, she's so wild and crazy and such a pixie chick, she just spontaneously decided to jump into a little rowboat and row ashore. And that Emperor Napoleon was just like hanging out with his like six-pack out on the beach.
No.
I was immediately taken with her, found her fascinating and beautiful, and he was even going to apply to the Pope for permission to marry her. But sadly, the story is unverified. It probably didn't happen. One way or another, Mary eventually makes it to Philadelphia, and I think she's relying now on the fact that news doesn't travel so quick and so far back then, because in America, she continues to play the character of Princess Caraboo.
She did not.
Yeah, she gets off the boat straight into the like nearest theatre. She gets a gig appearing on stage at the Washington Hall in Philadelphia as Princess Caraboo, but sadly, the show was not a great success. Very little success. She kept in touch with Mr. and Mrs. Worrell, the rich people, for a little while, until she wrote them a letter in November 1817 complaining about her notoriety.
Oh no!
And lamenting the fact that she had become, infamous, basically.
Yeah.
Eventually, she leaves America in 1824, returning to England and hoping that enough time had passed that people
7
had
years.
forgotten about the whole fakery. She gets another gig exhibiting herself in London. Sounds bad. As the exotic Princess Caraboo.
She's trying it again?
Mm-hmm. But sadly, the act didn't go down too well. She didn't really make much money. It's claimed she also went to France and also Spain, totally disguised as Princess Caraboo, the exotic washed-up princess. But it didn't work, and she ended up returning to England in the end. By 1828, so that's only 4 years later, she's living as a widow, apparently, in Bedminster, England, under the name Mary Burgess. However, that was actually a false name.
Oh, God.
She was using the identity of her cousin. In Bedminster, she eventually married and became Mrs. Baker, and they had a daughter in 1829. By 1839, she was recorded as a leech seller, selling leeches to Bristol Infirmary Hospital. Is that your dream career?
I was thinking about having leeches for pets.
Really?
You can get
Oh no, I can't be friends anymore if you're going to have pet leeches.
No, listen. You can get a medicinal bull leech.
Oh,
You can feed them yourself and small animals.
No.
So Lubu and I would volunteer.
No way.
Me and my cat would volunteer.
Your cat, no, I'm going to write a Sophie's Choice thing from your cat's perspective.
But they help with joint pain. They relieve cramps. So I could, okay, I have menstrual cramps. Take my pet leech. Come here, Squidgy.
No!
And I put it right on my stomach.
No!
And it will
I thought you were going to say somewhere else.
No. You put it on your tummy or your arm or something. It'll take the cramps away.
No, this is messed up. No way.
Okay,
That's next
I was just
level.
thinking about it.
Brushing your wigs with the window open,
have you seen
shouting
videos
at people in the
of people
street.
with the pet leeches? They don't go after you. Once they've been fed, they won't attach to you.
No, that's next level
you
crazy.
let it.
That's next level crazy. You can be the crazy wig lady. Even that you can make wigs for leeches, but you can't have the leeches in your house as your pet.
Okay. Maybe I'll get a leech plushie.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. That's good. That's quirky. But yeah, it's like I say, it's my favorite thing about when you start using a litter tray as a coffee table. That's the mark for you've gotten crackers. Cat crackers. Oh, that's such a weird route back into my story because 24th December 1864.
Oh no.
Mrs. Baker dies, sadly, from a fall and is buried in Bristol.
Don't you mean Princess Caraboo?
Yeah, Princess Caraboo. Here's a weird tidbit, though, that is always added on to the end of any biography you read about her, that her daughter, after Princess Caraboo's death, her daughter carries on with her business of selling leeches, I guess, and lived alone in Bedminster in a house full of cats until her death in a fire in February 1900. You see how that linked up with her crazy cat moments.
God.
So there is a slightly shitty 1994 movie called Princess Caraboo, based on the story. I mean, I haven't fully watched it, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's an American comedy movie. I doubt they mention the leeches and they probably work a love interest into it. I think we need to watch it at some point though, on a really shitty rainy day in the winter. Get a glass of wine, put it on in the background. But the Princess Caraboo story, the reason that this came to my mind is because it is enjoying a bit of a renaissance at the moment. I've seen tons of articles on it. Everyone's digging it up for popular British history stories because it is just a brilliant story and unbelievable and kind of cute. It's really cute.
Yeah.
It's a underdog story. It's just a shame
my God.
she
Nowadays
doesn't.
they could bring out a massive film about it as a reflection on people's worries about cultural appropriation. You want to talk cultural appropriation? Check out Princess Caraboo and do it extreme. Make it a musical. Make it fantastic.
Are you a witch with a foresight? Because there is also, I was just about to mention, a full stage musical. It came out a couple of years ago, so it's still fresh and new, based on the story of Princess Caraboo in London's West End. And it sounds pretty good. So if you're into musicals, frickin' check that out. Like, maybe we should. I would love to see a movie remake, though, because you could do a cool Princess Diaries kind of thing. Like, if I was a teenager, I would have liked a revamped Princess Caraboo, like a really good one.
That'd be good.
Like, top budget. I want Disney to do something with it. Just, I mean, base it on a story.
You
but
could even do a modern day version with like iPhones and stuff.
It seems a shame to end it on leeches and like someone dying in a house fire with a load of cats.
We'll rewrite the ending.
Yeah, well, I think that's the best way to do it. So the verdict, Cassie, what do you think about Princess Caraboo's trickery?
I think she did pretty well. I mean, that's pretty hilarious. She got free food and board for a long time before this jig was up. I mean, yeah, she had to deal with the infamy and stuff, but that's on you, girl.
And she had to pretend that she wanted to sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
I bet she snuck into the bed.
I bet that really felt shit when she was sent to prison, though. She's like, well, maybe I should have slept on the bed.
I mean, I want to say I would have totally done this had I been in her position back then.
She just told that and exactly what to do and probably was like, I'll send you some money later.
It's like, nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And she played into their fantasy, their silly, whimsical fantasy of the exotic. Which is, I mean, the great thing about back then was that you couldn't get away with identity fraud.
Here's the thing. They'll believe I'm an exotic princess. I'll just swim naked because they couldn't imagine ever doing that in a million years unless you were born on these like crazy places where the cultures are so different,
Exactly. It's like no one can fact check and no one can identity check. So you can, back then, you could get away with like pretending, you could lose a name. You could burn a name and come up with a new one and move to Scotland or something. You could pretend to be anyone. And if we think like pre-photography, you're relying on like someone having done a portrait or like a wax seal or something.
Or
people's
memories. Back in the day, people would, because you're exposed to, depending on your circumstances, less people, I suppose.
A lot less faces back then.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the fantasy and props to Princess Caraboo because she was making the best out of a shit situation.
And she got to like be really
just
a lot
a
more
shame
free
it didn't...
than women in that time period
God,
because she made up this character. She was limited only by her imagination of who this character was and what her culture was.
I can definitely see you having.
I would totally do that back in the day.
Done this back in the day.
If
this is
I
a
was
Cassiopeia
limited
type thing.
To like my circumstances, I would have totally done that.
I think the reality is I'd be too stressed to live a lie like that. I couldn't do it. I feel way too guilty, too nervous I was going to be found out.
You gotta go in.
And I don't know, something just tells me like she did go a bit too far with it. Like it was like there's a certain point where I was like, look, it's not fucking working. Like,
get yourself to the queen.
Stop trying to like keep it. At least come up with a different character when you go to like France or Spain. Like,
that's the thing. Like, come up with something.
Get some original material, and and then the fact she was living under a false identity like years later, and
she was definitely addicted to that.
She had a problem. A bit of a problem with it. So that was it. That was Princess Caraboo.
Oh, I've never really heard that one. My story is The Affair of the Diamond Necklace.
Ooh, it's a very feeling like it's going to be a girly episode.
It is. It is a girly episode.
It's a blingy episode.
Yeah.
Girly blingy.
So I'm going to go through a ton of names.
Okay.
So, and every person has the same name, so we're gonna strap in.
Okay.
I've tried to make it as concise as possible, but it's not my fault.
Okay.
It's their fault. It's nobility's need to name everybody the same thing. It is 1780s pre-revolution France.
Woo!
Ruled by King Louis Auguste the 15th.
Bonjour.
So right before King Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette.
Okay, yeah.
Before that.
Just before it got really wiggy.
Yeah. It was just before it went all downhill.
Yeah.
So his heir and the future ruler of France is called the Dauphin of France, I believe. I think that would be the pronunciation. So everyone's named...
The Dolphin of France.
The Dolphin of France. I think it's Dauphine.
Can you do a dolphin impression? There we go. I did like a monkey impression just then.
My brother's really good at all the animals. Okay, so the king, Louis XV, has he had 2 sons and 8 daughters. He had an infant son named Philip who died when he was a toddler. But luckily his eldest son made it to adulthood, and he's the Dauphin of France. He's the future ruler of France, King Louis XV's son. And his name is also Louis. But he is Louis the Dauphin of France.
Louis the Dolphin. Got you.
Louis the Dolphin.
Okay.
Now, Louis the Dolphin has a son named Louis Auguste, after his grandfather, who is currently king.
Okay, so this is, everyone's called Louis.
Yeah, they're all Louis.
There's a dolphin.
There's
Dolphin
Louis
has a
Auguste
kid.
granddad, Louis Auguste grandson, and then Louis Dauphin,
Okay.
who's the dad. Okay, so the King of France is a womanizer. He loves the ladies. At first, he's loyal to his wife, but she gets so bogged down with kids and matrimonial duties that he just starts going through women like water. Some die. He gets upset. The life of king is hard. And this is also just his romantic life. I'm not going through wars, balls, etc. Years later, he has his heir, Louis the Dauphin, and his grandson. So he's good on two fronts. He's happy. He's got a brand new mistress. She's 36 years younger than him.
Ooh.
She's named Madame du Barry. And there are a lot of
Dubarry.
foods named after du Barry tend to be creamy and stuff. So the court, and that's after her.
Oh, so she was a very sexy lady.
Oh, yes. The court disses her because she's basically a lowly woman who worked her way to the top with the help of a friendly pimp for the royals.
Okay, so she was hot and smart.
Very smart. The king himself had to pay a countess off to introduce her to court, but he did, and most people didn't go and then throw a petty party the next morning, excluding Madame du Barry. But the king's son is his total opposite. So the Dauphin of France is very chaste. He is loyal as fuck to his first wife, the daughter of the King of Spain.
Okay.
So a Spanish bride. They're super compatible.
I love a loyal royal marriage back then.
They're both nerds. They're super in love. Every historical account says they're super in love. He is 15 and she's 19. So he's very in love with this older, sexy Spanish woman who is super into him.
Nice.
At any rate, he's also very religious. He's a super good dude. And he's super dead by 1765 at the age of 36 of tuberculosis. So he had another wife because his first wife dies after childbirth. And so that love story is really tragic. He mourned for ages. But then he had a second wife. He's got children. He's got his heir. But he dies at 36 to our vampire tuberculosis.
Okay.
So soap opera, right?
Yeah.
Lots of things going on. He's dead. So his son at that time, before he died, was betrothed to Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
Marie Antoinette at 14 slowly goes to court events, ends up basically in this position of power through politics with her mother. And I'll explain more about it in a second. I want to explain the relationship between her and du Barry. So du Barry ends up in sort of court events and stuff like that, despite just being the king's mistress. And she's explained by a comtesse, the birds and the bees, at this court event at 14, as well as pointing du Barry out as a sexual rival for the attentions of powerful men.
Ooh.
Her and her betrothed are in the position of being next in line. Long before they were expecting it, they become a king and queen.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't expected that his dad would die at 36. You know, and his grandfather's still alive as reigning king. It's a crazy position for him to be in. So suddenly him and Marie are very powerful. And we have our villain, Cardinal de Rohan. So he's a big shot cardinal whose family are all full of cardinals.
Okay.
And he did everything he could to thwart Marie Antoinette's mother, Empress Marie Theresa of Austria, from getting Marie Antoinette engaged to the king's grandson. So he tried to stop that. He comes from this long line, but he isn't in it for God or Jesus, because he loves politics and anything cardinals aren't supposed to like. And he's completely corrupt.
Yeah, so like now, if he was about nowadays, he'd have a sports car.
Oh, yeah.
Like 100%.
And he'd be wearing his,
And like
he'd flick his collar out and have
like
a prostitute
a
in his
religious
lap.
Ferrari with like massive gold crucifixes
Driving
all over
sex
it.
workers around, spending money at casinos.
Yeah.
He heads into court like, hey guys. He heads back into court. Marie and the now Dauphin, his father's dead, so he's the new Dauphin. They remember, the Empress Marie Theresa from Austria also remembers. And he's like, hey guys, you want to come to my lavish parties? And they're like, no. And they snub him. So he knows that they don't like him and they remember what he did politics-wise to try and thwart them. So meanwhile, the king is so in love with du Barry that he commissions a grand necklace for her, one fit for a queen. It even has a queen cut and stuff like that, and he has specifications for the diamonds. And you know how I will get a diamond necklace into this podcast, and everything. So the jewelers get to work. I'm talking, it takes 7-8 years to finish this necklace.
Ooh, that's good.
So let me show you this necklace real quick.
Yeah,
because this is what it's all about. This necklace.
I've reached
Look at that
new level of classy. Oh, and
isn't that gorgeous?
Nice.
With the blue diamond bows.
That is so cute.
And that would go on your neck, and you'd be wearing a fancy giant dress and wig. It's so beautiful. It's worth like the equivalent of like crazy $1 million. Like, so
and here I am drinking water out of an old McDonald's coffee cup.
So So it takes years to sort this necklace out. Unfortunately, while they're making it, and Marie Antoinette is 19 and her fiance is 21, and the king dies. So this necklace is in necklace jeweler purgatory. Why? Because as soon as he dies, Du Barry is banished from court.
Shit.
So obviously Marie Antoinette, once she realized she was a rival. Yep. So this necklace, which no one cares about except for the jewelers, who are absolutely desperate to get rid of it. They've spent all this money buying all these diamonds to make this custom necklace. There's only a few people in the world who can afford it. As per usual with history, there are conflicting stories. I'm going to tell one version.
Okay.
They offer it to King Louis XVI. He was young Dauphin, hoping he'll want to give it to Marie Antoinette now that he's king. Marie Antoinette was offered the necklace by King Louis, and she refused it, perhaps knowing the dubious origin of its commission. The Du Barry. The jewelers, sneaky bastards, try to sell it elsewhere in Spain and places, I believe, and come back after Marie has a child because they couldn't get rid of it to see if she wants it as a postpartum gift of sorts, which I don't know whether it's the best or worst time to receive a necklace made of diamonds. You just had a baby. Do you want a necklace?
Yeah, I would still say yeah.
Yeah. At any rate, she refuses again.
I would pass the baby back.
She says something to the effect. She says something to the effect of, "We need ships, not diamonds." That's what Marie Antoinette says. Now we meet Jean de Valois Saint-Remy. Jean de la Motte. So Jean. Is it Jean for girl? Jean. We're going to call her Jean. She's technically a descendant of an illegitimate son of Henry II of France. So she's technically like a bastard, quote unquote, child of Henry II.
Okay.
She's a descendant of one of their bastards. She's living on a small pension that the king granted her. So she knows how things work in that area.
Oh yeah, she's like in that
She's educated.
circle a little bit.
But just on the outside.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to come to the parties.
Yeah.
But we'll give you money.
They'll look after you. They pay child support.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, what do you know it? She's actually the mistress of our villainous scumbag, Cardinal de Rohan.
In the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's in a sticky situation. The court hates him. Marie Antoinette hates him. He's complaining to his lady about it. "Oh, Jean, Marie just doesn't like me. What am I going to do? I need more power, more influence, way more than I already have as a cardinal making loads of money and a former ambassador to the court of Vienna. It's just not enough." So he desperately needs to regain favor with Marie Antoinette, and he's trying to scheme a way into her good graces. And Jean's like, "Don't worry. As luck should have it, I actually have been introduced to the queen, and I'm actually super in her favor. You could kind of say we're besties." And he's like,
sweet.
"Oh my god, what the fuck? Are you serious?"
There, like, immediately gets on the telephone to the queen with, like, a cigarette in one hand and, like, a little cup of coffee, glass of wine.
Yeah, she's like, I'm in her confidence.
She's got pink. Jean has definitely got Barbie pink nails.
Yes.
And I think she, like, maybe, like, got her first job in a laundrette.
Yes, basically. She's like, totally, I'm totally in her confidence. So she's like, she starts to make efforts on his behalf with the queen. And then she starts passing letters between them. Official letters.
Yes.
You ever pass notes in school? Like, you ever pass notes in school? We had to fold notes, or did you text?
Okay, no, listen to this terrible... We didn't text, because we were all... I don't know. We live in very backwards countryside. We didn't get phones for a lot longer.
See, I didn't get
the
phone till I was 17, but I did a lot of note passing in
there
school.
was a scandalous affair during A-levels. So we were like,
cheating?
No, worse than that. Much more gossipy than that. No, and I got in trouble for it, and it wasn't me.
Oh shit.
Some two and completely anonymous young ladies in the same class as me were passing, or 2 or 3 girls were passing notes in the back of the classroom, and I just happened to be sat next to them because we had a seating plan.
No.
I wasn't particularly good friends with them. And the notes they were passing involved a situation where another girl that they knew had got into an intimate situation with one of the teacher's husbands in a village pub.
Oh no.
Yes, and our English teacher found the note on the floor near my chair after we all left class, read it, and she was busy mates with the teacher whose husband one of these girls had kissed in the village pub one evening. And she got me and another girl who sat next to me, who was involved.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I had no idea what it was about. Caught us in a corridor like the next week and went like literally like was like, what the fuck is this? With this note, like, you cannot like do like really. And I was like, she could just immediately tell
that you didn't have
by my reaction that I was like I have no knowledge of this. Like, and then the other girl I was with, she wasn't part of it, but she knew exactly who it was, and she'd seen them doing it. So
creepy.
Messed up letter. Don't pass notes.
Yeah.
Don't pass notes.
Well, we used to pass notes and fold them in all sorts of cool ways, and you literally practically did origami notes. And then, it was just one of those old school things you used to do. Now I imagine people just text each other. But yeah, so the cardinal is reading one of these letters one day that Marie Antoinette has sent him through Jean de la Motte. And the queen's tone seems to be changing. She's no longer being cold and formal. All of a sudden, she's speaking to him as a friend might. Ew. And he begins to believe, as so many men do, that she's in love with him. So he gets obsessed. He needs to have a secret night meeting with her. He pleads with Jean to set up a secret night meeting, specifically a night meeting in a garden, in her personal Venus garden.
Venus garden. Ooh. I would
so
like a Venus
Jean's
garden.
like, no problem. She arranges the meeting. The cardinal goes to the meeting spot, this beautiful garden. Of course, the queen's there. The queen comes up to him and hands him a red rose and says, disagreements are over. You know what this means. And then Jean goes, someone's coming! And everyone scatters. Like, the queen scatters, Jean scatters, the cardinal runs away. The cardinal is super happy. He's like, yes! He starts giving Jean loads of money for the queen's charities. And Jean starts to make her way into respectable society, all the while bragging about her relationship with the queen. And everyone at court's like, yeah, I've seen her with the queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her pass a note to Marie.
Yeah.
And the jewelers are like, oh, we can use Jean to sell the necklace to Marie Antoinette. So at first Jean's like, no, absolutely not, to the jewelers. But then she's like, well, let me check something. She goes to the cardinal explaining about the necklace and that actually Marie Antoinette did want the necklace. It's just she didn't want to publicly buy this extravagant necklace when the country wasn't doing so great. They're starting to go in economic decline. People are really poor.
Yeah, bad press.
They can't afford bread. She wanted to use the cardinal as a secret intermediary since she trusted him so much now. And she loved him. The cardinal's like, oh, okay, we'll do a payment plan for the necklace. I'll pay lots of money to Jean to buy this necklace in installments over time. And Rowan gets the necklace and takes it to Jean's house. And a man who Rowan knew to be the valet of the queen fetched it. When time came to pay, Jean then presented the jewelers with the money from Rohan in the first installment, but it wasn't enough, and behind her back they went to the queen to complain. And the queen was quick to explain that she never wanted the necklace and had refused it twice and had never ordered it. A scandal breaks out, and eventually the cardinal is arrested. The cardinal presents his letters, and there are clear indications of forgeries.
Shit.
Rather than signing the letters as her the proper name, it just says like Marie kind of thing. It's like a lot of things are red flags, and then the forger gets found out, and Jean gets arrested. It turns out Jean hired a prostitute, basically dressed the prostitute as Marie Antoinette, gave her a rose, told her what to say, made her go into this garden unaware, did it, and then made everyone scatter.
Yes, Jean, playing the game.
So the necklace had been picked apart and sold on the black market. It was an extreme embarrassment to the French royal family. While Marie Antoinette is technically innocent, the cardinal was acquitted. So it made her look guilty, as if she actually tried to get him to do it.
To get it.
There is enough circumstantial evidence as well to tarnish her reputation, to suggest that actually there's enough evidence to suggest Marie Antoinette did try to do this and use them as intermediaries. So people believed this, and that the cardinal insulted her family time and time again to buy a necklace. This pretty much sealed the fate of Marie Antoinette as far as in the eyes of people and historians. The public suddenly saw her as vain and also incompetent. And she worried more about diamonds and food than the country. So you just imagine what she originally said: we need ships, not diamonds. And she refused the necklace, tried to do her best, and because of a scammer and an idiot cardinal who didn't like her in the first place, who knows, maybe he did it on purpose to get back at her for being queen. Everyone ended up looking like douchebags. And because they're rich and have too much time on their hands, you know, to be passing cryptic messages with roses and gardens. So Jean ends up getting sentenced. She's found guilty, but she eventually escapes to London and writes her memoirs, dissing the queen again, claiming that it was still true. So who knows? What do you think?
I feel that Venus Garden could be taken to mean something else. It's
something else. I don't think it's called Venus. It's something else, but like...
whatever you've made up a catchphrase then that I'm going to definitely bring out one day and disturb people. I need to trim my Venus Garden.
Oh, no. Well, yeah. Do you think... I mean, it's pretty... Yeah. It was pretty scammy. Pretty clear that this woman tricked the fuck out of this idiot cardinal.
We've both picked brilliant princess fucking fakery stories.
Yeah, people who are like, I'm in high society now.
I was excited when it was Diamond Necklace because I was like, ooh, sparkly and girly episode. Now it's double princess.
Double princess.
Double princess.
It was bloomin' good. So now it is tarot time.
Dun, 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 dun.
What have the stars got to land for us this week?
Please let it be something nice.
Wouldn't it be great if it was just like, I don't know, the trifle card where it's like you will definitely get a delicious Belgian chocolate cake presented to you after this podcast recording. Ooh, this is a very interesting lineup. Let's take a photo.
All right, so first we have the Six of Swords, which is just recent. Transition, change, rite of passage, releasing baggage.
Wow.
Oh, man. So yeah, shows that you're in a state of transition, leaving behind what was familiar and moving toward the unknown. Moving house recently. Yeah. That's what that specifically means, that you either moved house or something like big like that. So that's probably to do with you and your like, you know, big changes at the moment. We've
had some real big changes.
Rite of passages, you know, don't dwell on what gets left behind. Stuff like that. So for our present, though, interesting enough, Justice card. Justice, truth, you know, law, cause and effect.
We've got an epic picture.
Fairness, you know.
It's a dude with like a key and a stalk or something with light emanating from it. Pretty crazy. So if you're seeking justice, then this is a card that will say, you know, let's say you're in a legal case, you'd be you'd be winning. Justice from the bad shit that's been happening lately. This is it. It needs to be over now. I would like my compensation now, please. It's gonna like maybe bring truth to us, no matter how murky and opaque it is. We got to challenge ourselves. You know, it's a make sure you're aligned with your higher self.
It's like the opposite of lying. It's like it's a fun card to get during this reading when we're talking about, trying to stay true.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for your actions and justice will be served kind of thing.
Sweet. Stay true and good.
Yeah. And we've got the Hanged Man, but reversed.
So it looks
like he stood.
He stood up on one leg.
With his confidence,
With his head in a pond.
So reversed, it sort of means maybe a change of perspective, a pause, like maybe a reverse.
This is our future, isn't it?
Our future. Keep it. You may be in a position where everything has been put on hold, much to your frustration.
Oh, not again.
The reversal of it can indicating a time when you're getting blocked or restricted because of other people or other circumstances have left you on hold. While you feel resistant, it's important that you surrender to what is and let go of your attachment to how things should be.
Okay. So things are going to get...
If your life has already been on pause, it comes as a positive sign that you can move forward. So that's what
that
this
could
is.
be good,
That's
because
what
I
this
am
is.
really... My life was on pause for
That's
a
what I'm
long
saying.
time.
We were on pause, and this is that. I think this, after justice, look, fairness, this is what we've been through, the Six of Swords. This is our current, we're going to get this justice and peace, and we're going to go this is the light at the end of the tunnel, If something
the end of the shit storm.
There's gonna be a breakthrough, new mindset, new move ahead, and just be ready to be decisive before the universe takes the decision from us. When things happen.
Sounds good.
This
Sounds
is a lot better
hopeful
than
for once.
fucking last week.
Oh Jesus. We are also, guys, going to we're going to slowly create a fairy cabin.
Yeah.
In my garden. I think this will be in the last episode as well, but we might document the transformation, and it's going to be a slow process because at the moment we don't have much spare time and it's like raining and storming every day, but we're going to share our fairy cabin diary with you guys. We'll take photos of what we're doing and maybe videos of our progress and turning it into our own crazy toy box hangout.
Pictures of us in overalls painting.
Yeah, and we're gonna get more mini furniture, get a little tea set in there. I've got lots of decorations and lighting that are gonna look great. We're gonna fix the roof, waterproof it, just redecorate, get curtains. I caught a cat in there, like he thinks this is a new hangout. Like I went to show Cassie the cabin today, and a cat just jumped straight out of the window. It was like just chilling on an armchair in there.
Probably there right now.
It actually definitely is. And I think Cassie's going to add her magic touch to things, get it looking real nice and magical. And I did consider just using Cassie as my Dobby house elf slave and just get her to do the whole thing for me.
We'll do a project.
I don't know if we thanked anyone already about this. Because it's pretty belated otherwise, but we received some World Weary t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've mentioned it.
No.
So we might do a little, podcast photo shoot of us with the t-shirts.
Thank you,
doing
Anonymous.
their perfect DIY t-shirts.
Yeah, someone sent us, straight up t-shirt merch.
Yeah, we're going to use them for our fairy cabin DIY.
Yes.
Tell us your fake it till you make it stories. Maybe you've been the victim of a scam or fraud or whatever that you want to tell us about.
We've all overpaid for a lighter of a naked lady.
Yeah. Did you get up to any naughty hoaxes in the past?
Are you a princess?
Are you princess, a fake princess? Are you Princess Diaries princess? Like you didn't realize you were a princess, and then when you're 16, they're like, oh, by the way, you're actually a princess, and suddenly you're thrown into this fantasy lifestyle. If only. I actually don't think I would like that. We'll listen to stories of trickery and any weird stories you need to tell us. Just email us at worldwearypodcast@gmail.com. All the info is on our website, worldwearypodcast.com. We've got the diary page on there. Check our Twitter, worldwearypod, for updates. Our Instagram, worldwearypodcast, for the episode pictures. And please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or like us wherever. We are available at all good the Pondcast? God, I bet there is a Pondcast out there.
You know there is.
What are they talking about on Pondcast?
They're talking about
or maybe they're
leeches.
they're like leech enthusiasts.
Yes.
Yes, we and Pondcast are probably available at all good podcast dispensaries, and we need your help to get the word out there. Until next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.